6:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Danushka Madhavala and read by Lavani Vijayatunga. First, we take a look at the headlines. Sri Lanka Broadcasting Day falls today. The President emphasized the necessity to transform Horton Plains National Park and its surrounding areas into a premier destination for high-end tourists. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa said that the SLBC would become the most formidable political force at the next presidential elections. Lanka Sathosa reduces prices on goods. Major reforms anticipated in the University Humanities faculty. In news overseas, Israel says mistakenly it had killed 3 hostages held in Gaza. And in sports news, Indian Premier League, Hardik Pandya replaces Rohit Sharma as Mumbai Indians captain. Those are the headlines, and now let's move on to the details of the local news. Sri Lanka Broadcasting Day falls today. Sri Lanka was perhaps the first British colony to introduce radio broadcasting a few years after its inauguration in Europe. Mr. Edward Harper arrived in Ceylon on the 21st of July 1921 to take up duties as Chief Engineer Telegraphs. Harper brought with him a deep interest in the medium of radio broadcasting. Mr. Harper's vantage position as Chief Engineer was helpful in introducing radio broadcasting. The first experimental broadcast was done on the 22nd of February 1924. And on 16th December 1925 was the actual day on which the improved transmitter was opened by then Governor. At the end of the year 1924 had a total issued license of 53. The available evidences suggest that by the end of 1925, the service has emerged from its early stage. The station was providing a regular broadcast service on 800 meters using Colombo telegraph transmitter with certain modifications. The Governor of Ceylon, Sir Hugh Clifford, inaugurated broadcasting on the new plant on 16 December 1925. The transmitter opened its days with 1 kilowatts when compared to the previous one, which was only half a kilowatt. President Ranil Wickremesinghe emphasized the necessity to transform Horton Plains National Park and its surrounding areas into a premier destination for high-end tourists. The President made these remarks earlier yesterday during his participation in an observation tour in Horton Plains National Park. Following a visit to the site office at Horton Plains National Park, President Wickremesinghe recorded his insights in the special guest book and subsequently participated in an observation tour of the park along the Ohio route. President Ranil Wickremesinghe further conducted a survey of the lands owned by the Department of Wildlife and Forest Conservation related to Horton Plains National Park using map sources. During his assessment, he directed the officials to compile a comprehensive map encompassing all lands associated with both Horton Plains National Park and its associated region with prompt submission deadline. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa has been re-elected as the leader of Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. SLBC's second national convention got underway at the Sukadasa Indoor Stadium yesterday under the aegis of Mahinda Rajapaksa and party's national organizer and founder Basil Rajapaksa. The re-election was made during the national convention of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna held at the Sukadasa Indoor Stadium last evening. The former president said his party would become the most formidable political force at the next presidential elections. Addressing the convention convened at a challenging time, the former president referred to the achievements of his government during 2005 to 2014 period under 2 consecutive terms, including the end of war and infrastructure projects such as the Hambantota port. This is the news from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. And we continue with more local news. Lanka Sathosa has issued an announcement yesterday stating that the prices of 10 essential consumer goods had been reduced. It will be effect from yesterday until the 31st of December in view of the festive season. Accordingly, the price reduction will be implemented from yesterday for the following items. Sathosa milk powder reduced by 10 rupees. Imported canned fish 425 grams reduced by 55 rupees, while imported canned fish 255 grams is reduced by 10 rupees. Local canned fish 425 grams is reduced by 20 rupees. Imported potatoes are reduced by 15 rupees, while local potatoes are reduced by 15 rupees as well. Red raw rice, a kilogram is reduced by 15 rupees, and white raw rice, 1 kilogram is reduced by 5 rupees. Chickpeas for a kilogram is reduced by 5 rupees. Addressing a press conference at the Presidential Media Center under the theme Collective Path to a Stable Country yesterday, State Minister for Higher Education, Mr. Surendra Raghavan, unveiled ambitious plans for significant reforms within the humanities faculty of the universities. State Minister Raghavan shed light on the forthcoming initiatives aimed at revitalizing the education sector. Mr. Raghavan announced that the President, Ranil Wickremesinghe, has taken the initiative to institute a National Higher Education Authority. This authority will be tasked with conducting comprehensive research and studies on the ongoing education reforms within the region and globally. His remarks came as the State Minister conveyed the significant financial allocation has been designated for the education and higher education sectors. The intention is to execute a series of reforms within the humanities faculty of the country's universities. To facilitate this, a special discussion session for this purpose has been planned for the upcoming month. And to conclude the local news, the headlines once again. Sri Lanka Broadcasting Day falls today. The President emphasized the necessity to transform Houghton Plains National Park and its surrounding areas into a premier destination for high-end tourists. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa said that the SLBC would become the most formidable political force at the next presidential elections. Lanka South also reduces prices on goods. Major reforms anticipated in the University Humanities faculty. And that was the local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Veda Mahatmya.
The main news story for this morning, Sri Lanka has offered to provide assistance for coconut cultivation in Cuba during a meeting between Sri Lankan Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena and Cuban Ambassador Andres Marcelo Gonzalez Garrido at Temple Trees in Colombo on Thursday. According to the Prime Minister's office, Prime Minister Gunawardena thanked Cuba for the consistent support extended to Sri Lanka at the United Nations and other international forums. He also referred to the assistance given to Sri Lanka to combat the dengue pandemic and stressed the need for continuous cooperation in the field of medicine. The ambassador agreed to share Cuban expertise in mosquito eradication with Sri Lankan health authorities. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Veda Mahatmya.
This is Watchlight.
The Irrigation Department has informed that both sluice gates of the Kalaweva Reservoir have been opened yesterday as heavy rainfall continued to pound the area. Due to opening of both the spill gates of Kalaweva Reservoir, the people living downstream have been warned to exercise caution and stay vigilant due to the increased water capacity released from Kalaweva. Engineer in charge has also informed the people to be careful while using Kalaweva. And that came to you in Watchlight.
Coming up, World News.
Headlines of the world news. Israel says it mistakenly killed 3 hostages held in Gaza. Rudy Giuliani must pay more than $148 million over false election claims. Yemen Houthi rebels claim attack on 2 Red Sea cargo ship. Those are the headlines, and now let's move on to the details of the world news. The Israeli military says it has mistakenly killed 3 hostages during its campaign in Gaza after they were misidentified as a threat. The military shared its remorse and said the 3 were shot by troops operating in Shajia in Gaza's north. More than 100 hostages remain in captivity in Gaza after being captured on 7th October attacks on Israel. The Israel Defense Forces said on Friday's incident was under investigations and it expresses deep remorse over the tragic incident and sends the families its heartfelt condolences. Our national mission is to locate the missing and return all hostages home, it added. The 3 bodies have been returned to Israeli territory where checks confirmed their identities. Rudy Giuliani, the longtime associate of former President Donald Trump, has been ordered to pay more than $148 million to two women over false claims that they tampered with the votes in the year 2020. A judge has already found Mr. Giuliani is liable for making defamatory claims about Georgia poll workers Ruby Freeman and her daughter Wandrea Shea Moss. Ms. Moss said that after the verdict for the past few years had been devastating. The verdict came after a 4-day trial to determine the penalty. On Friday, the 8-person jury ordered $20 million payment for defamation to be made for each victim. Two cargo ships in the Red Sea have been attacked by missiles fired from territory in Yemen, the US says. One was hit with a drone and the other by missiles, both launched from parts of Yemen controlled by Houthi, a rebel movement backed by Iran. Houthis did not confirm the drone strike, but they said they did fire missiles at the second boat and the third one. It is the latest attack on foreign ships in the area since the start of Israel-Hamas war. Houthi, who seized power 9 years ago, have declared their support for Hamas and say they are targeting ships traveling to Israel. The vessels came under attack at Bab al-Mandab, a narrow strait in water in the vital global trade. And that was the world news.
Development news.
Investment Promotion State Minister Dilum Amunagama emphasized that by the end of this year, foreign investments of $2.3 billion have been brought to Sri Lanka, surpassing the given targets. The Finance Ministry has given a target of $1 billion for this year, but with few days left for the end of the year, it has been possible to reach an agreement for investment of $1.3 billion. He said that by the end of this year, it will be possible to reach the agreements for investments of $2.3 billion. The minister pointed out that due to the impact of the economic situation in the country, for the first 6 months of this year, the government did not get any opportunity to enter into agreements for investments. That is the development news. For sports news coming up.
Moving on with sports news.
Hardik Pandya will captain the Mumbai Indians for the upcoming India Premier League season, replacing India's test skipper Rohit Sharma. Rohit is in competition's joint most successful captain alongside MS Dhoni. He is expected to still play for Mumbai. Mumbai had recently drafted Pandya from Gujarat Titans, who captained the IPL title in the year 2022 and final in the year 2023, with a long-term view of him replacing Rohit as captain. The decision from Mumbai is perhaps a shock, but it fits with the franchise's pattern of switching between captains. Pandya will be Mumbai's fifth captain since they were founded in the year 2008, following Sachin Tendulkar, Harbhajan Singh, Ricky Ponting and then Rohit. Rohit has won 87 out of 158 matches as captain in the IPL at a win rate of 55.06%. The 2024 IPL starts on 23rd of March 2024 and ends on the 29th of May. That was the sports news. Business news coming up.
Go ekakthiyana youth ekat life eke change ekat niyameta set wenna as wahagena dakapu hina habe karanna youth ekat niyameta set wenna friendship eka menna.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
Business news. Sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Meta's social media app Threads has launched in the European Union 5 months after its release in most parts of the world. It debuted as much as fanfare as a rival to Elon Musk's X, formerly Twitter. But it was not made available in the EU, which has strict rules around data and big tech. Meta will hope it will drive interest in the platform, which gained more than 100 million users in its first week before those numbers drifted down. Boss Mark Zuckerberg announced the news with a post on Threads welcoming new users from across Europe. That was the business news. Economic news follows.
Business news. Sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekakthiyana youth ekat life eke change ekat niyameta set wenna as wahagena dakapu hina habe karanna youth ekat niyameta set wenna friendship eka menna.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
And And now in economic news.
Danish shipping company Maersk said that it is pausing all its journeys through the Red Sea. The decision comes after a spate of attacks on vessels launched from the parts of Yemen controlled by the Houthi and Iran-backed rebel movement. The group has declared its support for Hamas and says that it is targeting ships traveling to Israel. The Red Sea is one of the world's most important routes for oil and fuel shipments.